How many people out there have heard of Pokemon Go or have children that play Pokemon Go? Yep. Almost a full room. 2 hands, 2 children, yourself and your child. So what I'm here today to talk about is really, I know we always throw this orientation mobility and what it is, but it's important for anyone who has low vision or is blind to be able to get around their environment safely and independently. So I apologise for those that don't have any vision and can't read this. I'll try my best to describe each slide as it comes. Essentially what we've got up here is a picture of an O&M instructor from Guide Dogs helping out a young boy who's learning how to use his teaching cane. And the reason I put someone so young up there is because O&M starts from early ages. It doesn't wait till you leave school. It starts from before you walk, essentially. But it says O&M refers to the skills and techniques required for independent travel by persons who are blind or vision impaired. Now that's not my saying, that's from LeGros and Weeses in 1994, back in the day, but still extremely relevant. Orientation mobility is about getting out and all of those things that are involved in getting you from point A to point B independently, and that doesn't mean you could be the best cane user in the world, but if you have to go and get on public transport and go into an environment where you haven't learnt about space or concepts before, then that's going to be extremely difficult if all you have is these cane skills that you've used in your familiar environment like your home, or it might even be the school that you've gone to for the last 5 years. So these are examples that I've put up here. There's a picture of a young girl in a school uniform walking down a footpath quite confidently, must add. And I've said, where are your orientation and mobility skills tested? And where they're tested is starting a new school. So you kind of think of, you're going to an unfamiliar environment. You might have been there once or twice with your itinerant or your O&M instructor before previously, but realistically, this environment's going to be new and it's going to be scary, and you're going to have to make new friends on that day as well. But what you want to do is, you don't want to have to worry about your ability to move around that environment safely and independently. You want to focus on all those other things like being able to engage in class activities, making new friends. The last thing you want to do is be trying to learn orientation mobility and trying to make new friends at the same time. So if you start orientation mobility early, you're going to have that skill before you get into that environment. And likewise with the next thing that I've got below that, a job interview. That's pretty scary, going out from school into the workforce as it is. If you have to then, you've been at school all this time and you've gone, oh, orientation mobility, oh, my orientation mobility instructor's here. Yeah, we practice the cane, we do this, but I don't really see a point in it. What is really good is if you actually have something to motivate you to want to do that orientation and mobility, like Pokemon Go, for example. But in a job interview, someone might actually ask you the question, how are you going to get to an external meeting that's not going to be in our company place where you're so used to and so familiar with? And if you're able to go, well, you know what, I can travel independently, I can catch public transport, I know how to utilise Uber, I can do all this without having to rely on someone else, immediately you've gone straight to the top of their list because you already have those other skills, which is why you've got an interview. So Pokemon Go, what is it? So I've got 3 pictures up here. One is an example of what it looks like when you open the Pokemon Go app. This is an avatar, so a person that you make up to look like whatever you'd like. You can make them have purple hair or blue hair, almost up to your imagination as to what you want to dress the person in. What you see beside it is a blue circle, and that's what we call a Pokestop. Now a Pokestop, as you might see, there's a lot of diamond-shaped things. So, sorry for those who can't see this, but there's essentially a map and there's a lot of diamonds scattered throughout this map. The diamonds are the Pokestops that you're not close enough to be able to access. When you get closer to them, you get the circle appear like the one in this picture, and that means you can then spin it. When you spin that, what happens is it then gives you Pokeballs. Now these Pokeballs are what you actually catch the Pokemon with. So it's really important that you have your backpack full of Pokeballs. By the way, this is definitely a digital backpack and not a real one. And then you can catch the Pokemon itself. So that's what the middle picture is. The middle picture is just an example of some Pokemon that are out there which you can catch. And then the number above them says the CP, so that's a combat power. So when you get really into it and you get above level 5, because it doesn't let you battle your Pokemon until you're above level 5, and then you can go to a gym. So in the first picture, in the very background, you might be able to see a yellow and a blue large object in the top right-hand corner. That's what we call a gym. So again, like the Pokestops, you actually have to physically travel to these.
Sleep mode on.
Sorry about that. Surprise. To these gyms to be able to access them and battle your Pokemon with other people. And the downside to Pokemon Go is that at the moment it's not extremely accessible for people with no vision. So that's where the other picture on the very right-hand side, Pokemon Radar, which is referred to actually as Pokemon Map, which is another app that you can download, and what it tells you is where all the Pokemon are. So instead of seeing the first picture here and walking around and going, I'm just going to walk around until a Pokemon jumps out at me, you can go, you know what, I'm going to go to that Pokemon because I know it's going to be there when I get there. So with the map itself, it's really great because that is accessible with VoiceOver. So it saves a lot of hassle with the Pokemon itself. And what you can do is, you've seen I've selected one over there, which is called Magma. But below that, I'm not sure if you can see that at the back, but it has a number underneath it. Now what that number is that's actually how long that Pokemon is going to be in that area for that time. So it's telling you that that Pokemon is going to be there for 2 minutes and 32 seconds. I then can use that and go, okay, well, if I double click on that in the app, it then allows me to open that up in Google Maps or Apple Maps. And then it tells me how long it's going to take from where I'm standing to get to that Pokemon, because it takes a GPS reading coordinate of where that Pokemon is. I can then use that with my own abilities to go, well, I know I actually walk a little bit slower than what Google Maps says, or I walk a bit faster. I know that I will or won't be able to get to that Pokemon in time. So you can then utilise that to go, oh, well, I won't go to that one, I'll go to this other one. And you can see how that will then open. So here's the pictures of opening it in Google Maps. What it provides you with the information in the middle is a picture of, in Manly Vale, sorry, not here. And it shows you how long it's going to take you to get there. But the good thing about it is because it gives you a GPS coordinate, you can actually copy and paste that GPS coordinate into Blind Square. So you're now using an app which is designed purely for people with vision impairment to travel around the city environment or the country environment. So it's going to give you that feedback that you need, like you're coming out to a four-way intersection. But then you are going to need to know, what does that mean? What's that going to entail when I'm travelling down the street independently? If I come to a four-way intersection, what does that mean I have to do? And what that would mean is you need to know what environment you're in. Is that going to have traffic lights? Is that going to be an uncontrolled crossing? Do I need to indent away from the corner? Or do I need to utilise my skills of being able to cross at ATS crossings? So you can see all of these things that you would teach orientation mobility as, but we're not actually calling it that. We're calling it playing Pokemon Go. And I don't know about you, but whenever anyone tells me, oh, you know, please practice this, I find it incredibly hard, no matter how much I'm interested in this topic, to actually practice it. But if I do it as a game or as something I'm, extremely interested in, then I don't realise that I'm doing all these learning things. I'm actually much more likely to learn that objective and also want to go out and practice that more without even realising that I'm doing that. This is how you catch a Pokemon once you get to it. There's a picture of me throwing a Pokeball, which are the things that you get from the Pokestops, at a Caterpie, or Caterpie, I always get it wrong. And you flick it up. So the idea is that when you get to the Pokemon, you then open Pokemon Go up. But what it is you can see that this is all visual. But what you can do is you can actually purchase what's called a perfect catch from online, or if you have a 3D printer, you can actually get the code and print a 3D tactile screen cover for your phone or iPad. and place it over the iPad so that you can perfectly catch that Pokemon tactually. So you don't actually have to see it. So that is what you can do with that. But also what I've found is you can use wiki sticks, if anyone's heard of wiki sticks before. You can actually stick them over the phone and have them there ready to use as well, which is quite good. So you can see the general starting off, flicking it towards the Caterpie, and then going over until it says gotcha. Sometimes they will jump out of the Pokeball and they will also run away from you and you are left with no Pokemon. But ideally, Pokemon Go is an orientation mobility tool. What it involves is it allows you to problem solve. So you're going to be faced, if you say you're here, you want to go to that Pokemon, it's going to provide you with a point where, say if you get to an intersection which you can't cross, but your map's telling you you've got to go across here because the Pokemon's over there, that's going to mean that you're going to need to use your ability to problem solve that intersection. What are you going to do when you get here? You obviously can't cross here because from your ability with your independent travel, you know that that's not safe. So in that terms, that's also going to provide you with someone, if you do this obviously with an adult or an orientation mobility instructor first, and once you've learnt that and your parents are completely and utterly okay with you doing this, you can actually then go as a group. So a lot of people with Pokemon Go meet up as a group or a team, and it's a huge social thing. So I'm not sure if anyone's seen, but actually with Pokemon Go, it's shown already to improve social anxiety and depression, and it's only been out a month. So it's quite amazing that, you know, one tool is actually getting everyone out and about, but it's also relieving social anxiety, depression. People are finding it actually better to find a romantic partner with because it's a common interest. And they're calling it better than Tinder, but I don't know. But so you can see that there's definitely a motivation to do this. It's going to create a motivation because you don't realise that you're learning, but you actually are learning. And you're learning all of these skills, and it's providing you with social inclusion as well. So if you're going as a group, you can actively participate. So you don't have to sit on the sort of the back seat of the group and let everyone make the decisions. You can go, hey guys, I saw there's like a magma up here. We've got, 6 minutes to get there. Sorry, I can't get there in that time. Can I take your arm and be guided? It's sort of using those strategies, and it's okay to ask to be guided, but not all the time. But it's giving you opportunities to be able to do that and problem solve, demonstrate that you're an independent traveller, and also all the concepts that that provides is, even if you start doing this with an adult, that you can't do all these skills straight away by yourself. You're going to start learning mapping concepts of road crossings, blocks, all of those things which come along with O&M, and you won't even realise that you're learning it. And also with all the Pokestops, they're designed to be specific landmarks throughout the city. And I was saying this to a colleague, actually I found it quite funny because I learnt something off Pokemon Go, and when I first started looking into this, I was like, oh yeah, it's a great game. But I actually looked at one of the Pokestops and found there was this really lovely garden behind these buildings that I walk past every day. And I realised a lot of people actually go there for lunch and sit in the sun, and it's really peaceful. So here's me playing Pokemon and going, oh, here's a rose garden. All I can see is buildings. So I then used the map to get to this rose garden and found out through a Pokestop that there was a rose garden there. And it gives you all sorts of information like that as well. So, for example, the cathedral here is a Pokestop, and it provides you with information on the cathedral. It can also provide you with information on the beginnings of walking tracks. So anyone that's into bushwalking, it'll actually show you the entrance to a bushwalking track that you might not have known was a bushwalking track. So there's a lot more benefits, but as with everything, I have to give you the safety warning as well. It is also fun, but the government has actually put out this safety warning for Pokemon Go, and has stated that it may show locations that could be unsuitable for young players and also adults, but that's great, because that's going to bring up concepts that you can actually actively discuss with your child or student, depending on, what the location is, but also about personal safety, because realistically that's what you're going to be doing when you get older and be independent. So these are all things that you need to discuss anyway, and it's all about being smart about it and knowing when it's a good time to play Pokemon Go. 3 o'clock in the morning going to a graveyard, probably not the best time. But, if you were going to a park in the middle of the day, usually quite safe. And also, while you're looking on your phone while playing, one of the big things I'm sure everyone's seen of people walking in front of cars whilst they're playing Pokemon Go, realistically, whenever we teach a GPS app, the first thing that we do is we reiterate the importance of even just having earphones in your ears at crossings. It's not as safe as you could possibly be. So with an orientation mobility program that incorporated Pokemon Go, if you wanted to learn anything about that, please feel free to ask your O&M instructor about how to incorporate that into a program, even if it's just to teach you the skills to do it with your child, because that's an activity that you can both have fun with. But it's all designed to go, okay, well, I know that Pokemon's over there. I don't really need to look at my phone until I get there, because I can already see that there's one Pokestop where I can stop. And you teach them how to pull over to the side of the footpath, so they're not standing in the middle of the footpath, breaking up all of the ability for everyone to walk past, but also finding a safe place to stop and then look at their phone. And then they can continue on, like most people of everyday society should, but they don't. So they'll be able to teach other people how to use their phone more effectively. And I just thought this was hilarious. And it's a picture of a dog looking mighty annoyed, and it says, when your dog realises you've only been taking him on more walks to catch Pokemon. We've got our families weekend, which is 10 to 15 years old with any one level of vision impairment, and it's designed for the whole family. So we get the whole family to come along and have a look at all the different types of services that they can get for their child with vision loss, but it also gives them an opportunity to experience what it's like for their kid that has the vision loss. So we do a lot of fun activities here, as you can see in the photo, is blindfolded mini golf. Quite an interesting one, and that's for the 24th and 26th of February next year, and it's a free weekend in Wollongong. And if you have any further questions, that's our phone number, which is 1800 484 333. Thank you for listening.